I'm the one at our house who researches the estate sales, and I have to kind of look and see what there is that might lure my husband out of the house for a day trip. Usually that's a barn sale with tractors and old rusty junk, which I'm just as excited about old rusty junk as he is, to be fair. So when I saw a sale listed for this weekend that was a barn sale with acreage and 2 tractors, I was pretty sure that he would want to go, but just to make sure he didn't think I was entrapping him, don't buy a house on the highway if you want to film YouTube videos. To make sure that he didn't think I was misleading him, I did show him the pictures of what was going to be in the sale before we left our house. This is what I was excited about getting to that sale and seeing in person. I didn't count, and while we were at the sale, all of the Treadle sewing machine bases were loaded up by the time we left. In the pictures advertising the sale, there were 2 or 3 times as many. These are all Treadle sewing machine drawers. And inside, it wasn't a big sale, but so much of what they had was really old vintage and the kind of stuff you don't see. That is a Halloween pin the tail on the black cat party game. There are no words. This little bear, it's a wind-up toy. It's covered in some kind of real fur, and it doesn't quite work, but it tries so hard to walk and sway its head from side to side, and yes, it did come home with me. That is an old Mrs. Potato Head. I don't know enough to know if that's real or a reproduction. I've never seen one up close and personal before. For $2, I'll probably never see another one like it. But that's okay because I can't have all of the old toys that intrigue me. Very old Monopoly set, and that's where I made a mistake and didn't check inside the box to see if the original play pieces were still in there. I would have bought it to get an iron or some of the older pieces. I was tempted by this board game because I recently saw where someone had made purses sewing them. I don't know if my machines, any of the old ones, are strong enough to do that. I think these Dinky Doodles are some kind of a construction toy. Again, that's something that I Googled it, and it actually would have lined up with my early childhood. The choking hazards just make the mind reel. The Carome game board would be tempting if I hadn't found one of the Goodwill bins a couple of years ago. The more I thrift an estate sale, the harder I am to tempt. And that is not a bad thing. I don't usually film at estate sales, but there was literally no one in the house but my husband and I. So I figured I wasn't getting in anyone's way and no one would mind. There's a flutophone. It's old. I don't know if a flutophone is any different than the recorders my kids had. Hindsight, this package of buttons all on their old cards probably would have been worth picking up. I did want the white buttons, but I have got so many white buttons already and I'm making no progress at using them. I like the structure of this pin cushion. I may go on Pinterest and see if I can find a way to reproduce it. Old pocket knife that was just a little too thrash to make it worth buying to add to the collection. And these dolls, always, something in me feels the need to rescue them, but I never do because I have a ton of them grandma crocheted dresses for that one of these days I'm going to do a vintage show and tell and show off to you. This was the cutest little book of how to care for your chickens. Kind of boggles my mind that they made such a nice book telling you how to raise your chickens when I'm used to utilitarian or our new paperbacks. These are buttonhole attachments. I think I've got several of these hidden up in my sewing room that Grandma found at her auctions. And that bear did come home with us, which is why he's in every shot as I put him down. A vintage Jetsons game. And some interesting applique. These sales always have old linens. This fountain was just similar enough to the one on Grandma's porch to give me a rush of nostalgia, but not enough to tempt me to find a place for it in our own yard. Old rusty bicycle that's a little nicer than the one we found a few years ago, but much more expensive. And if you remember my free mid-century ceramic turtles that I got at a sale, these were so much more damaged, and they wanted a lot for them. I think they were $4 each. I brought home baby dolls because, guys, how could I not? Look at the eyes. These aren't creepy. I have had creepy baby dolls, and they were new and not like these. This one has a soft body, and she nestles just perfectly into the crook of my arm. I know, I was trying to explain it to my daughter, and she's like a baby doll, but no, I have never had a baby doll, even in childhood, that I was so tempted to just haul around the house in the crook of my arm. They were $2 each, and when I do see dolls like this, they are always way too expensive, because I guess the market for potentially creepy baby dolls is booming, maybe? They're damaged. They were loved. The plan is I want to find some old lace and linen and make them beautiful little dresses and bonnets, because we need to cover up the damage. If you happen to know how to gently clean them up just a bit without damaging them further, please leave a comment, because I think there's some superficial dirt here that maybe I could remove, and I will if I can, but I don't want to risk them because they are so fragile that they are beyond restoration. What is it they do with old junky cars? Restoration? We're going to do the baby doll equivalent, and when I figure it out, there will be a video showing how I did it. Thank you so much for watching. I am Michelle with Michelle's Romantic Tangle, and I'll be back with you again soon. Please subscribe if you want to see more thrifting videos and more vintage finds.